Okay, this next joint is considerably wider. So it's going to be approximately the same technique we just did, only I'm going to have to use the wider, and I am going to use the grip strip brand again for that. I will try to start off with a 2-inch, and 2-inch is not going to be big enough. It doesn't quite fit in there. So I'll have to go back up to the next larger size, which is a 2.5 inch. That's a little tight. This is going to require me to push in just a little bit to get it to conform. Sometimes some of these, if there's a knot that protrudes down, you might even have to cut out around it a little bit with the knife. But so far we're doing all right. One of the things I like to do is to look down the line, make sure that it's relatively straight. There's not too many waves in it. Make sure the edges are pushed up nice and tight and even. And that's going to work good there. Now we've started to transition down just a little bit. So I will go to the 2-inch size. Made sure that this joint is nice and tight and it's even. And I do have a little problem here with a knot that's sticking down, so I'm going to take my knife, trim just a little bit off the back side of the backer rod. That gives me a nice tight fit. Look down the line, make sure it's nice and even, and then I'll finish this up by just putting a few staples in before we do our chinking. Couple final details on backer rod. One thing I should point out with the grip strip brand, it's a trapezoidal. There's a narrow end and a wide end, and what we're putting in on the logs is making sure that the wide portion of the backer rod is out, narrow portion in. That way it conforms to how the logs are coming out. Some people get confused on that. And the only other thing that we haven't covered yet is installation of this half rod. And same principle on that, we're doing it so that the flat side is out. So I'll run one more line here on the wall. It's pretty much the same type of installation as what we were doing with the open cell round, only we'll start at the end. Make sure you start with the backer rod pushed up tight against the very end wall, and then just slowly work it in. I'm also pushing in the bottom and the top edges so that they don't flare out, and just working down the log line. Again, trying to make sure that it's nice and even, relatively flat, and also so that the flat portion of the backer rod is straight up and down and isn't on its slant. We'll just slowly work this over. This is a little more pliable, so it is able to conform to a little better to the slightly expanding joint size I have here. And that's usually all there is to it. Occasionally some of these areas will be loose and may need a staple or two, but that's the installation process.